Relationships are key for all of us, and especially for young people who are in vulnerable circumstances. We know that relationships need to be two-way, that it's about who cares about us, but it's also about who we care about. We know that relationships need to be thought of broadly, that in fact whose family can be not only the people who are our biological relatives, but other people who are significant to us. We know that that our families change through our lifetime, that who's important to us and who's central to us when we're children changes and develops over our lifetime. We know that we need to have an optimistic view of family, and that many of the young people we work with have had difficult, challenging and conflicting things happen in their families and their relationships often. We've got tools for looking at relationships. Genograms help us have a point in time understanding about who's in a young person's family, but they're rather static. Today I'd like to look at the notion of a timeline and how you can use a timeline to assist get a more dynamic and broader appreciation of a young person's world, relational world, and do this with them so that it becomes a tool for helping the both of you explore what relationships are that are important in their life and what might be the possibilities into the future. A timeline can be done either on a sheet of paper with a young person as a process of conversation and as something to use as a reference point. Young people often like that because they can start to actively contribute to what's being written down. Or you can use a timeline simply in your mind. You might be driving along in a car and then later on write that up on a sheet of paper so that you don't lose the detail. This is the story of Rachel. Rachel is 16 years old. She's been living in foster care placements since she was 6. She was removed from her mother's care after substantiated reports of neglect. Rachel's mum Zoe had a history of methamphetamine and cannabis use and would often go on drug-using benders for days, leaving Rachel and her older sister Megan alone in the house to care for themselves. Rachel says she never knew her dad, as her mum told her he left before she was born. She would like to know more about him. Rachel tells you she has been in about 8 foster care placements over the past 10 years. She has been in residential care for about 2 years. This has been Rachel's most stable placement, and she has formed a strong connection with a residential care youth worker, Sam. Rachel says Sam recently helped her to advocate getting a pet kitten at her placement. Rachel tells you since moving here 2 years ago, she's been going to the same high school, which is a big deal for her as she's been changing schools for years. Rachel tells you she likes her current school, and she's even considering joining the school athletic team. Rachel says she got really close with the PE teacher, Mr. Stevens, from her last school after she showed some interest in running, and he encouraged her to go along to athletics training. You ask Rachel about her friendship group, and she tells you that she has one close friend from school, Naomi. Rachel describes her friendship with Naomi as a bit flaky, saying she's obsessed with boys and frequently ditches her for boyfriends. Rachel says she misses her old friends from the neighbourhood. She tells you about twin sisters who lived next door to her when she was growing up. Rachel says they tried to stay in touch, but with all her moving around in foster care, it was hard. She's been thinking about them a lot recently, and her youth worker has suggested she try to find them on Facebook. You ask Rachel about her relationship with her mum and sister. Her sister Megan is 18 now and lives with her boyfriend. Rachel says they haven't spoken in years. Rachel tells you she has weekly phone contact with her mum, who moved interstate about 3 years ago to clean up. Rachel tells you that she's due to leave residential care in about 3 months and is considering reuniting with her mother in New South Wales. She says she desperately wants to be in a real family, but she doesn't trust her mum when she says she's off drugs. Rachel says her mother has sounded slurry and a bit out of it in the last few phone conversations. We only have a limited amount of detail here about Rachel's relationships currently and in the past, but already there's some opportunities that are being presented without making any presumptions about what's the best thing to do. These are opportunities to explore relationship. some of which may be able to be reinvigorated, some of which may simply be an acknowledgement that Rachel's had positive relationships in her life and has a positive future in terms of building relationships. And it's that future orientation that we really want to bring into relational practice, into family responsive practice. It's about appreciating that young people have a right to family and that we can help them understand that wanting to have positive relationships and a family into the future is a very legitimate goal in their lives, and that part of our practice with them is to support them explore what those connections are, who those relationships are with, and to assist them develop the skills and the confidence to have good relationships in their life.